From the creation of gaming, there have always been punishing and difficult games. In 1984, Tetris would continually get faster as your game went on. 1990's Dragon's Lair got a ton of critical hate for how difficult it was. Lion King on N64 was disgustingly hard. I still remember to this day spending hours with my cousin trying to beat that elephant level. And that's not even mentioning Demon's Souls and Dark Souls, which spawned its own genre of Soulsborne games. So there have always been a market for punishing games that reward players who put the time and effort into learning a game. Welcome to Totally Relevant Reviews, the only review channel bold enough to review old games that have already been reviewed by better channels than me. And this is where Battle Brothers comes in. Battle Brothers is a tactical role-playing game developed and published by Overhyped Studios. It was released on PC in 2017, and console versions were released in 2021 and 2022. Where do I start with a game like this? In Battle Brothers, you take control of a group of brothers waging a campaign in a randomly generated world map. During your game, you run around the map taking on quests, fighting monsters, waging wars against nations, all the while recruiting randomly generated characters and classes and collecting loot from each battle. You have a variety of campaigns to start, each with their own stories, different characters, limitations, and endgame goals. You can lead a group of mercenaries, cultists, peasants, militias, and one of my personal favorites, a group of crusaders campaigning to avenge their fallen leader. There are more than enough backgrounds to keep this game fresh for a long time. Some of the campaign starts have unique limitations to make your game harder. Like in the peasant campaign, you can only recruit classes like farmers, fishermen, basic low-stat characters. Or in the cultist run, you recruit characters by indoctrinating people and get unique abilities based on your cult. Now that we have chosen a campaign, we're off to the races. In our randomly generated map, we have all sorts of cool locations to explore. Our map can have 3 to 4 different nations controlling areas of the map, each with their own towns, cities, and castles. As you explore the map, you can go to the different spots and buy recruits, gear, and take on contracts. Sometimes when you walk around, you get these random events that can either help or hurt you. You can have a brother become an alcoholic and lose stats, or get the chance to save a wildman, a brother with good stats. There are a couple different types of contracts you can take, but most of them involve fighting monsters or bandit groups. When recruiting, you choose from a handful of character backgrounds. The more expensive backgrounds are going to have better stats than the cheaper ones. Each brother has random traits that can help or hurt you. Your brother can be a small guy and have better evasion, or he can be a cripple and move less on the field. So as you progress through the game, the more money you collect allows you to buy better brothers and gear. And even though our brothers are randomly generated each game, I found myself getting attached to my brothers after every battle we faced. Similar to a D&D campaign, you learn to love the characters because of the stories you give them. You have these goofy, silly little guys grunting all over the place. You can't help but love them. Now that we have our world map and our ugly little brothers, now we can start fighting things. Mobs can range from basic bandits, looters, knights, gladiators, and barbarians to different kind of monsters like trolls, dragons, zombies, and skeletons. There's a big variety in the enemies you face, each requiring a different strategy to beat. You can build your brothers in a handful of ways as they level up. You have skill points to put in your traditional stats. You also get different perks as you level up. Perks to increase damage with certain weapons or to just increase your health. And that brings me to my first gripe with the game. Like many games, Battle Brothers isn't constantly updated. But looking through Steam, it seems like they're putting up updates every couple of months, and that's okay. But what happens is that as you put more hours into the game and start learning how the perks work, you realize that there are 5 or 6 builds that are just better than the others. So your runs end up with the usual suspect of builds for your brothers. And while it doesn't necessarily ruin the game, it sort of takes the fun out of replaying the game. Yeah, you have different campaigns that allow you to change things up, but when your endgame builds are the same from game to game, it does dampen the game a little bit. When putting over 100 hours into a game, I want to change things up with the characters I'm playing, and unfortunately, I found that when not playing the best builds, the game becomes even more difficult than it already is. Like the history lesson at the beginning of this video implied, Battle Brothers is hard. The mechanics, permadeath, and certain enemy designs already make this game hard, but what makes Battle Brothers make you almost want to smash your keyboard is the randomness. Like D&D or XCOM, you roll a dice for every attack you make or have to face. Not only are the attacks RNG based, when you take damage there's a chance of getting injuries that temporarily or permanently affect your stats. Did your brother get bonked over the head too many times with a mace? Now he has brain damage and gets permanent stat reduction. Facing archers isn't a problem until you lose an eye, and now your archer has lost 50% of his range skill. On top of these injuries, you have to manage the morale of your brothers. Lose too many battles, your morale is now low, and now you have to worry about your brothers running away from a battle. For every attack, there is a morale check. Better morale gives you better chances, and vice versa. With all this said, Battle Brothers is really fun. It's a rewarding game if you're willing to put the time and effort into learning it. And while it's difficult, like very difficult, and rage-inducing at many times, there's no better feeling when you get some lucky rolls or a legendary gear drop. It's that sweet release of dopamine. It's as good as gambling in a video game, cause, gambling in video games has never been a thing. And while it does have a higher price tag, I think that if you're a person who loves XCOM and games like that, you won't be disappointed with this game. So while it's a very tough game, Jolie DeWitt of Nintendo World Report perfectly summed it up when saying, "It's a world I want to dive into again and again, even if I know this incarnation will be just as taxing." Hey, thanks for watching. If you liked this video, don't forget to like and subscribe for more videos.